Hi, I'm Roseanna from Moara Crochet, and today we're in a new setup than my usual one because I have just filmed the Very Hungry Caterpillar storybook, and I've used this setting so it only seemed appropriate that I would make the crochet explanation video in the same setting. So today's video is all about my Hungry Caterpillar life cycle set, which was inspired by Eric Carle's Very Hungry Caterpillar. Now, this is one of my favorite all-time stories, and I believe many of you will feel the same. It's a story I grew up with. I taught when I was a teacher in Manchester, and also I passed on to my daughter. And it's such a beautiful story because this is a story that connects with so many different learning aims for a young child. You have the colors, you have the life cycle, you have days of the week, you have numbers, and the idea of a story from beginning to end. So it didn't take long for me to want to make a story sack to go with this. And I love story sacks because I believe children learn through play. So whenever I did have a special story for my daughter, I would try to make a story sack that went with it, because then she could use that toys that went with the story and create imaginary worlds. And learning is all through play, especially from the ages of 2 to 5. So today I'm going to talk about my crochet story sack that I've made to go with this story. Now, my original crochet life cycle set contained 4 elements. I keep looking at my clock because I'm having a few problems with the audio, so excuse me. My original collection contained 4 elements. So we had the egg, the caterpillar, cocoon, and butterfly. But this year I wanted to do something special with this crochet set because it's a crochet set which I think is very valuable, educational, and like I said in my previous videos, in previous years I've made crochet patterns and just got them out to sell. I haven't done any talk through videos. So this became an idea actually a year ago, which I haven't had time to do. So my aim was to create a stop motion video with all my little crochet pieces moving about telling the story. And this year I actually made this and I'm really proud of it. It was a lot of work, and I have released this video today to go with this blog post. And because it was going to be something new and something I wanted to do for a long time, I decided to add a few additions to the pattern, which I will talk about a little bit later. So first of all, I'm going to get my notes because there are a few things I want to share with you about this pattern and explain to you what type of pattern it is, would it be suitable for you, information on what style of crochet, and lots of little bits. So here are my notes. Okay, this is quite a large pattern because it contains 4 elements, well now 7 because I've added 3. Because the Hungry Caterpillar is such a colourful element, it does require a lot of yarn. So I'm going to show you the 4 pieces right now, and then I'll go into the details. So the first original kit contains the little egg that lay on a leaf, then the hungry caterpillar himself, followed by a little cocoon. And this cocoon, you can pop the hungry caterpillar inside as so, and pop the lid on as so, and you can hang it just like a real cocoon. And I use this in the garden with my daughter, and she hung it up, and the little caterpillar goes inside, and then it can open. So the children can play in and out of the cocoon and understand this process of metamorphosis, not hibernation. And then obviously he comes out as a butterfly. Now the butterfly I have created, I have tried to keep all the original features as much as I can. And here he is, and he is double-sided, but he also rolls. So the idea, if I can get this done now on screen and holding audio all in time, would be quite impressive, is that he will fit, he does fit, inside the cocoon, just as so. Trying to balance a lot of things. And he fits nice and snugly inside the cocoon as well. So those are the 4 original elements. Okay, and here he is coming out. And like I said, I've just done a stop motion video of this, and it shows this whole process. So let's talk about the pattern first of all. Now, as I said, this pattern uses a lot of yarn, a lot of different colored yarns and different weights. Now, to reduce the amount of weight of different yarns you would use, I suggest in the pattern is that you buy the yarns you required in a fingering weight. Then when you do require a DK weight, you just double your fingering weight yarn. So it reduces the need to buy fingering weight yarn and DK yarn. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now this also uses thread weight yarn, which is used to create all the little features, such as the eyes and the antennas and a few little bits. So there are a few different yarn weights required just for this pattern. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Another thing though is because the amount of yarn you require is quite little, you will probably have these pieces in your scrap box. So you could use little pieces that you already have. You might not need to buy everything in stock. Okay. Now this pattern uses more than basic stitches. So this is not a beginner pattern. This is designed for someone who has some crochet experience and understands how to do certain stitches such as a back post single crochet, surface crochet and puff crochet, puff stitches. So there are certain techniques that you will need to understand and know to be able to create this pattern. Now, if you are a beginner who has got some experience but would like to push yourself to the next level, there are links and videos to explain how to do these techniques. So there is a whole video that I have made on how to do surface crochet. I've made a video on how to do a puff stitch, and I'm sure there is one there that I have done which is for the other stitches. So if you would like to try and push yourself, this isn't as scary as you will think, okay? It's just a lot of pieces. Now, this pattern, as you can imagine, uses lots of different weights, therefore we'll use different crochet hooks. It's not a pattern that only uses one crochet hook. You will need a size 1 mil, a 1.25, a 2 millimeter crochet hook and a 3 mil. Okay, so there are a few variations you will need. Now, If you are not so comfortable in using a smaller hook, you can use a slightly larger one. It all depends on your hook to yarn ratio. Also, there is no set gauge for this pattern. As it is a toy, it's not something that needs to have a set size. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that your stitches are tight. So your element will keep its shape and its size. Especially when children are playing and they're pulling and pushing, it will still keep its original form. Now, going back to yarn, I'm sorry I'm jumping all over the place in this video. Now, as I said, I have used fingering weight yarn. Now, some of you may want to make the pieces as I have made them. Now, I live in Brazil. I cannot always get access to standard weight yarns that you have and standard colors. So what I have done within this pattern, I have tried to stick to a brand which I know is more available outside of Brazil, and that brand is Circulo. Now, Circulo do 2 weights of yarn that I like, and one of them is an Annie and one of them is called Charm. So I have used mainly Annie yarn as my fingering weight, and I have doubled that up to create the DK weight yarn. And this is one of the colors that I have used to create my, to create my crochet caterpillar, which is a variegated yarn, and it gives that mottled green effect. So that's one of the yarns I've used. And then again, I couldn't get the Annie for one of the additional patterns, so I've used the same variegated style in Charm. Like I said, this is children's toys, so the gauge does not need to be perfect. You don't need to have it the exact same size as mine. Your priority is to have the stitches as tight as possible to keep the form. The only one you would need for the gauge to be as close as possible would be your crochet caterpillar, this one, and the cocoon, because these are designed to fit inside one another. So your gauge does have to be similar for these 2 elements. But if you're using fingering weight yarn and doubling it up in both elements, you will be fine. It will all fall into place. Okay, so that is the yarn I have used. Now, if you want to create the mottled effects, you can use 2 different colored fingering weight yarns to create that effect. It doesn't need to be a variegated yarn. Now, as I have said, I've created a stop motion video to go with this, and I have decided to add 3 new additions to this life cycle set, which is, 1 minute, let me find it, is, I'll bring them both out together, is the moon, which is found on the first page of our story. And again, I've used double weight fingering yarn. I didn't actually have 2 of Annie, so I've used 2 different brands to create a grey-white mottle effect, just like the moon. You could use maybe a grey and a blue would work lovely. And then I've used surface crochet on the face. So that's one of the new additional patterns which have been added to the kit. I have also made the sun to go with the story, because the sun comes up every day, just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So the children can learn through the story the process of day and night and time. So this is my little sun that goes with it. And this, I have used the Charm yarn, so it is slightly bigger than my moon, but I don't mind that. And my daughter loves this. And the final addition I have made is a teeny tiny little crochet caterpillar. And I have used this caterpillar mainly in the stop motion because I can make him move and make it look like he's really walking along. But I think this makes a lovely little addition to the front of a story sack or into a school bag or into a t-shirt. So this can be sewn onto anything. So I think this is really cute. So those are the 3 new additions to my Hungry Caterpillar life cycle set. Now, if you are on Ravelry and have already purchased this pattern, you will be able to get access to these new additional ones for free. It's very easy on Ravelry to access updates. Now, if you've bought this pattern on Etsy, I can't do that because it's already a closed sale. Same with my website. So if you have already bought the previous pattern kit and would like these additions, send me an email to info@moaracrochet.com. Show me that you bought the pattern and I will send you a link with these additional patterns on. So I'm going to love you and leave you now. I hope this has been very helpful and I will see you in the next video. Bye!